Hi, I'm Titli and this is my busy garden. This last week, well, 9 or 10 days really, it's done nothing but rain and rain and rain and rain. And on top of that, it's been raining. Some parts of the garden have really enjoyed the rain, but others, I'm afraid, haven't been quite so appreciative. This geranium has been soaking up all that water and is putting on a magnificent display at the moment. And these semi-succulent sedum type things are having a great time too. But my poor, poor roses. Barely have the flowers opened and they've been battered to death by the rain. It's a real shame because they looked really nice at one point. Well, there's no point crying over spilt petals. I'd better get into deadhead mode. Well, it doesn't look quite so sad now, and there are plenty of buds still on there, so hopefully if we get a dryish spell I'll have a lovely display over here again. Some of the flowers were so wet they were full of water. Very sad. On some of the roses there are flowers like this which haven't even opened and yet they're starting to rot. I guess the moral of all of this is that it doesn't matter how good a gardener you are, whether you're good or bad. The weather always has the potential to get in the way. And on that note, I'm going to have a cup of coffee and we'll go to a commercial break. New from Titli comes the Acme Mark I fruit cage. With its simple design from bits of old wood and some not so old bits of wood, this elegant and functional fruit cage can be dismantled for storing over winter. Wicked! The high quality net is bird resistant and hung on nails from the frame, making it easy to remove. But a flap in the side allows you to get in and out with ease to pick your fruit. All you need to do is remember how to get back out again. The new Titli Acme Mark I fruit cage. It's totally Titli-tastic! As you can probably see behind me, there's an awful lot of raspberries that need picking. And I've got my box, so let's go. There's only one problem with picking raspberries, and that's the huge temptation to eat them. Goodness me, just look at these clusters of raspberries. The fun thing about raspberry picking is that every time you change the angle of view of the raspberries, you see some more. I've filled my tub up. I think I need another one. Well, I've picked about 1 kilogram of raspberries, complete with 1 or 2 bugs. It's about 2.2 pounds in dollar money. I'm going to wash these now and then I'll tackle the strawberries. Well, there is some fruit down here. But the problem is, it's been so wet that some of the fruit is actually just rotting rather than ripening. Woohoo! I picked a monster! Well, I have to say that although there's a lot of fruit which I've lost, either because it's rotted or the birds have got it, there's more here than I imagined. I'll show you in a minute. Well, that's not too bad. There's almost 2 kilos or $4 pounds here. Next I'm off to tackle the blackcurrants. Deep joy. I do like blackcurrants, they're quite tart, but with a bit of sugar or in a nice summer pudding, they really do make a difference. Just look at these clusters of berries here. It's so easy to pick when they're like this. You just kind of put your hand around them and pull and off they come. Well, I've picked about half the blackcurrants and as you can see it's quite a substantial box. And as I was picking them I thought, let's have a bit of fun. Let's have a competition. And all you have to do to enter the competition is tell me in grams or ounces or pounds and ounces how heavy you think this box of blackcurrants weighs. Now the prize, I haven't decided yet, and if two people happen to guess the same weight, then it's the one who guesses it first that wins the prize. Easy? I'll let you just have a look at these blackcurrants. I'm also able to pick a few tayberries, but unfortunately some of these have already gone over, a bit rotten, and I'm sure it's to do with the damp weather. Still, I've got a fair harvest so far. Well, I reckon that's enough fruit picking for one day, don't you? Now all I've got to do is work out what I'm going to do with it all. One thing I want to do for next year is to completely redo this strawberry patch. Firstly because it's a bit of a zoo and I can't really see where the fruit is or get at it easily. And secondly because I don't really know how old these plants are. And I'm going to take advantage of these suckers that the strawberry plants are now starting to put out. So here's how it's going to work. I've got a runner here and you can see there's a little plant forming. It's already got some nice roots on it. So I'll put a pot of compost underneath the roots, make sure the roots go in, and then I've got a little metal hoop here made from 1mm galvanised wire. You can get that from a hardware store, and I'll just pin it in place and then snip off the excess shoot, and that'll help it divert all its energy into this little plant here. I've pegged out about 30 little plants, and once they're rooted I'll set them free from the mothership. These will provide me with the plants that I'll be putting in my new strawberry bed next year. Here's my big apple tree. Do you notice anything about it? There are a lot of these new shoots on the tree, and good practice says we should cut these back. Firstly because we get better blossom next year, and secondly it's pushing energy back into fruit growth and not shoot growth. I'll cut something like this back to about 5 leaves from where the new growth starts, which means about here. Looks brutal, but you should know by now that actually the tree will benefit from this. It doesn't have to be exactly 5 leaves, but you get the idea. More or less 4 or 5 leaves. I do enjoy pruning. I get a great sense of satisfaction out of it at the end. By cutting off these growing tips, the tree's going to get the message that actually it needs to focus on the fruit for future well-being and not the shoots. Now I need to do a similar thing with my apple spindles too. I've also had to give my leeks a bit of a weed. I'm a little surprised my leeks aren't more advanced by now. The beetroot that survived the onslaught by the slugs and snails is doing okay. And my broccoli is definitely starting to show signs of broccoliness. My French beans are starting to do what, well, beans do best really. Et les oignons, hee-haw, 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 hee-haw. It's getting more and more like a jungle in here every day. I've just given my tomatoes their daily water and they really are needing a good daily water. But it looks like I'm going to have some tomatoes this year for sure. And my first pepper is certainly growing. The chilies are still doing quite well despite being under attack from the earwigs. And my first coriander crop keeps running to seed. I keep chopping the flower heads off in the hope that maybe it'll push out a few more leaves. I think next year I'll cut back a bit on the plants that I put in here. I'll certainly have fewer tomato plants, maybe 1 or 2 courgette plants and just a couple of peppers. It's getting crazy in here. Those are the jobs I've had to do, like tidy up the saxifrage, deadheading the chives, tidying up these daisies and the centaurea, new to the garden are these lovely things. Any idea what they are? Some buds on my fuchsias, and my triffid is coming into flower. Do you know what this plant is? And does anybody happen to know what this ornamental cauliflower looking thing is? It's about 4 feet tall. Well, that's all I've got time for this week. Thanks for watching, and do join me next time in Titli's busy garden.